Welcome everybody out there, you beautiful souls, and welcome to our first Emancipation Basic Introduction talk of the year. And we hope you will enjoy what we have to show you this evening. And before I start, I just want to say that a lot of the things that we have been led to believe to be true or status quo are under threat, and a lot of people have realized that and are starting to wake up and are starting to say, you know, there has to be more to this. And they start hearing about common law, thinking, you know, what is it? Is it crazy? And it is so out there. The fraud is so big that a lot of us just cannot comprehend that it could be a fraud, because it questions our every single aspect of our lives. And it is really, when I got confronted with it for the first time, I also did not want to believe it. And cognitive dissonance is a real issue. So my opening lines will be to all of you: please be gentle on yourself. Don't beat yourself up that you should have known this long ago, or that you've been thinking what you were thinking. We all here at the right time, at the right place, learning about all these frauds, and there is a way out of there. There is a status correction. We can fix these things with knowledge. So knowledge is power, but it can come and be quite a stressful situation as well. So let's dive right in. We have got our introductory image where we have the ship. We have Lady Justice. How does that fall together? What is a straw man? Why? How? Who? We have common law versus maritime law. Are we enslaved from cradle to grave? Is that true? And if it's true, if there is there a way out? And if, how? So this is where we are going to start off. So with the start of 2020, a lot of us have started to realize that there's a distinct duality to our lives. To the outside, everything seems great and green and free, and we are free. We have a democracy out there, right? But then how did we get to lockdowns? How did they take our freedoms and put us in a cage? And a lot of us started searching and started finding out about another reality. And we're starting to see and realize that there is slavery versus freedom. And the slavery we thought was that comes in chains might not be those kind of chains that we have been led to believe. They are certainly out there. But what if you and me and everyone you know out there is a slave? And what if it is like that? So let's figure this out, but always make a choice. Don't be consumed by the negative, the fear, because what happens next is we are finding ourselves in front of rabbit holes. There are so many. And when I talk about our talk on emancipation today, I will be focusing purely on emancipation. Once you go down that rabbit hole, there are many. And I urge all of you who are starting on this journey, don't dig too deep, don't get lost in the rabbit hole. Inform yourself. Knowledge is power, but then use it for your betterment of your life. And be mindful. When I talk about them, there is a lot of referral to them, and I always get asked, but who are they? And it's a rabbit hole on its own. I will now say, for now, it is Mr. Global. We can always talk about that, and anyone who wants to know more about Mr. Global can contact me. I can always give you more information. For now, this is who they are. I'm going to start this introduction today with a little video. It is The Wizard of Oz. We all know the story, and it was written in 1906, I think, somewhere at the turn of the last century. It's a children's story, and like many children's stories out there, there are always undertones and messages for the adults. And this little clip we're going to be playing you right now is one man's version of it. But it's very interesting, because you're now suddenly going to look at probably all the fairy tales and the stories we've had with different eyes, but in particular, The Wizard of Oz. So sit back and enjoy. This is a little movie time. It's not long, it's just a couple of minutes.
The Wizard of Oz, what it really means. This appears to be a message to expose the banking cartel in America, and to let the people know that they have the power to liquidate them, and get back to Kansas, the real land and republic. The Wizard of Oz, written by L. Frank Baum, is not just a mere story. What is Oz a symbol for? Ounces. What is measured in ounces? Gold. What is the yellow brick road? Bricks or ingot bars of gold. The character known as the straw man represents that fictitious, all caps, legal fiction, a person the federal US government created with the same spelling as your birth name. Remember what the straw man wanted from the Wizard of Oz? A brain? No juristic person, legal fiction, paper corporation has a brain because he or she has no breath of life. What did the straw man get in place of a brain? A certificate, a birth certificate for a new legal creation. He was proud of his new legal status, and all the other legalisms he was granted. Now he becomes the epitome of the brainless sack of straw who was given a certificate in place of a grain of common sense. Now, what about the Tin Man? Does taxpayer identification number, TIN, bring anything to mind? The poor Tin Man just stood there, mindlessly doing his work until his body, literally seized up and stopped functioning. He worked himself to death, because he had no heart or soul. He's the heartless and emotionless creature, robotically carrying out his daily task as though he were already dead. He's the ox pulling the plow and the mule toiling under the yoke. These days, his taskmasters just oil him nightly with beer, and place him in front of a hypnotic television, until his very existence no longer has any meaning or value. His masters keep him cold on the outside, and heartless on the inside, in order to control any emotion or feeling that might arise. The Cowardly Lion was always too frightened to stand up for himself. Of course, he was a bully and a big mouth when it came to picking on those smaller than him. Have you ever noticed how bullies are really the biggest cowards? They act as though they have great courage but, in reality, have none at all. They roar, but with no teeth of authority to back them up. When push came to shove, the Cowardly Lion always buckled, and whimpered when anyone of any size or stature challenged him. He wanted courage from the Grand Wizard, so he was awarded a medal of official recognition. Now, although remaining a coward, his official status allowed him to be a bully, but with officially recognized authority, and not at all unlike the attorneys, who hide behind the courts. What about the trip through the field of poppies? Did you notice how this had no narcotic effect on the straw man who had no brain, or the Tin Man with no heart or soul? They weren't real people, so drugs could not influence them. The Wizard of Oz was written at the turn of the century, so how could the author have known America was going to be drugged? The Crown has been playing the drug cartel game for centuries. Just look up the history of Hong Kong and the Opium Wars. The Crown already had valuable experience conquering all of China with drugs, so why not the rest of the world? What was the Emerald City? The Federal Reserve System. Who finally exposed Wizard for what he really was. Toto, the cute and somewhat annoying little dog. Toto means in total, or altogether in Latin. What was it that the witch wanted after she alleged that the little dog had bitten her? Toto. Or everything. Notice how Toto was not scared of the great wizard's theatrics, yet he was so small in size, compared to the wizard, that no one seemed to notice him. The smoke, flames and holographic images of Oz were designed to frighten people into doing as the great wizard commanded. But Toto simply padded over, started barking until others paid attention to him and came to see what the barking was about. Who was behind the curtain? Just an ordinary person controlling the levers that created the illusion of the great wizard's power and authority. When Toto pulled back the curtain and completely exposed him, the charade was at an end. The veil hiding the corporate legal fiction and its false courts was removed. The wizard's game was up, and what was he after all? A conman, a fraud. We can see, in this tale, just how loud the bark from a little dog can be. Most of us remain silent and wait to be given whatever food and recognition, if any, by our legal masters. Let us not forget those flying monkeys. What perfect mythical creatures to represent the Bar Association attorneys, who attack and control the little people for the great crown wizard, the powerful and grand bankers of Oz. How, finally, was the evil witch destroyed? Pure, clean water? Liquidation. How did Dorothy finally get home? She simply clicked her heels. She always had the power, and so do we. What would it take to expose the wizard for what he is? We each need only a brain, a heart and soul, and courage. Then, and perhaps of the greatest importance, we need to learn how to work together. Only by working together, can we have the freedom that was given to us all, under the law of God.
Right, so here we are. I think for a lot of people, it blows the mind because you think, who thinks of that? And why? And when? Who sits behind that? And it is an absolute genius master plan. And what we will try is to try and shed some light on how they do that. And this movie, this little clip, I've seen that many, many times. And every time I watch it, when we do these presentations, there is something new that I discover in the movie. And it's always beneficial. And you always think, yes, this is why we do these things. And today it was, again, the reminder of us being little Toto, that dog. All we have to do is bark. And we so often think we are so small and so irrelevant. And what am I going to do? What am I going to do to change? So even if I change, how can I change a huge system and a huge fraud like that? And that is what they make us believe. And we need to realize that we are a lot more than just that, and that we have the power to bark. We have the power to click our heels. We have the power to say no and move on. But we can only do that when we are educated and we know what's going on. So in order to put our problem into an image, I love working with images. So most of the slideshow is pictures because they tell many, many words. So here we have something which quite blatantly is a ship on land. And it doesn't belong here. It looks wrong. It's weird. And it's just, what on earth is this woman thinking? But this is the problem. This is, for me, in a nutshell, the problem we have. And when we go on this journey now, you're going to start learning your diction, know your diction, learn how they played with words in order to manipulate us into believing that what they do is right. So we are ruled by maritime law on land. That's why the ship is on. It's the jurisdiction of the sea, which they have brought onto land. And in law, which is an acronym which stands for land, air, and water, you have certain jurisdictions in those spaces. And the jurisdiction of the sea, the water, may not be on land. It has no right to rule there. It's the law of the land. That is where we are. We should be ruled by that. And that is determined by the different countries we live in, where we were born into, our cultures, and we make our own rules. We cannot have entities who come on their boats and park on land and do what they do to us. So that is our problem in a nutshell. And now we go down how they start. And they start at birth. And here we have a ship and a pregnant lady. And you will say, no, this is totally different people or totally different things, not people. The ship has a belly, and so has the pregnant lady. They both have cargo on board, and you go through the birth canal, and you get docked by the doctor. So suddenly the word doctor makes sense. And you birthing, B-E-R-T-H, not birth, B-I-R-T-H. So they're playing a little bit with your vowels and consonants, but you get the gist. And the moment you are born, you've come through the water, you've had your labor, they need your labor, your sweat, your toil. Your little Baba is born. And this little bouncing bundle of joy is born a free sovereign. But they want to turn it into cargo. And how do they do that? And it's quite a process. I'm going to only touch on the very, very superficial edges because it's important for you to get the picture of what happens, and we can then always later on delve into more detail. It is when your certificate of your live birth is made out by your doctor. Your parents then go to Home Affairs and register your birth. Register, the word crown, register means crown is hidden in there, and you will find out soon why that is important. But the moment your birth is registered by your parents and the certificate of live birth is issued by the doctor, your straw man is born. Now, what is a straw man? I don't think, I had never heard of that. I heard straw man, and I remember asking in the beginning, is he now the good guy or the bad guy? A very naive question, but obviously we are not straw men, we are not dead. That is your dead legal fiction. You are a person, you are a citizen. Those are all loaded words. So Mary Jane of the family Doe is a woman. The name is written in small letters. If they add their titles, Miss and Mary Jane Doe in capitals, in all caps, you become incorporated, you are a person. And the word person was changed in the Dictionary of Law in 1862 to be an incorporated dead legal fiction. The word corpse is hidden in incorporated. And that again makes a lot of sense. So just very quickly in summary, Mary Jane Doe is a free sovereign. If your name is written in small letters, you are a free sovereign. If your name is written in sentence case, meaning your first letters are in capitals and the rest of your name is small letters, you are bonded. Again, you are in a bond. And this is applies to all Swiss citizens. If your name is in all caps, you are a slave. This is a law that is Roman Dutch law. It still applies today as it did 2,000 years ago. And you can go quickly, if you have your purse next to you, look at your bank card, your ID card, your passport, utilities bill, bank cards, wherever you have to sign up for anything, your name will be in all caps, and they trade with you. How they trade with you is quite sneaky. At your time of birth, when your birth is registered, they open and you are now incorporated, they open an estate trust or a testamentary trust, which is a trust that is opened in order to deal with an estate, which is a deceased estate. And they put in, how's this? They put into this trust, they open it, and there goes money into it, and they want to know your birth weight. And it is your birth weight in gold. That value goes into this estate trust or testamentary trust. If within 6 months you have not claimed your trust and said you are alive, you are going to be considered lost at sea. And according to any law, if you find a ship bobbing out on the sea and you find it, it's finders keepers. You can keep it. With its contents, it's all yours. So effectively, you and I, with our little ID books, are lost at sea, and we are dead legal fiction. After 6 months, the estate trust turns into an STQV trust, which we go into much later. Your name in capitals will follow you throughout your life, right to your death. Even on your death stone, on your gravestone, your name will be in capitals. I've gone and looked, and most of gravestones are in caps. And that's why they actually call it a ledger. They still trade with you through this account, even beyond your grave. And you are seen as a dead strawman, a dead legal fiction. So when you go and sign any document, or you're being presented with a bill to pay your water and your lights and your taxes and this, that, and the other, they are actually coming for your straw man. They are not coming for you, the living man. They have separated you, the living man or woman, from this to the straw man. And once you know that and you can start controlling your straw man, that's when things get interesting for us. But before we start, and a lot of people say to me now, but what does it have to do with me being dead? And how does that work legally? And we need to have a little differentiation now. Legal is law of the is law, maritime law, apologies, and lawful is law of the land. And we need a little contracts lesson. How do contracts work? And again, you have lawyers who come with their knowledge, who study for years and years and years, who come with legalese and trickery and tell us, you are too stupid, you can't understand this, we do it for you, you need a lawyer. And they are very well versed in the contract law, but I've sort of tried to separate it so it's nice and easy for everyone to grasp. It's not difficult at all. So contracts work the following way. People, living people, may contract with other people. A corporation may contract with another corporation, but a corporation may never contract with people, and people may never contract with a corporation. And this is the reason they have to create a corporation out of your name and create that slave, that dead legal fiction, that straw man. And that's why your name has to be in all caps. And yeah, that is just the quick explanation. I hope that is clear for all of you. Sometimes it's a lot to take in, and don't stress. You can always come back to these things, and we can always explain again and again. That is the only way we are going to eventually learn how this works. So now comes something that triggers a lot of people. The Republic of South Africa is also a corporation. It is trading. It has a CIK number. The CEO is Johan Rupert. The deputy is Nikki Oppenheimer. And here you see, you can go through the list of names who are serving on the board of directors of the Republic of South Africa, which of course is a fraud. We're supposed to be a government that is elected democratically. And how is it that the spokesperson and the chief whip are the two people who publicly out there hate each other, i.e. Cyril and Julius? We have a problem here. And we then see people like Renwick, Soros, John Oosthuizen. Other members are Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the WHO, the DA. So whilst we are all thinking we need to vote DA to keep the potholes out of the Cape, who are we voting for? They're all sitting on one board. They look like they get on very well together. And you can do your own research. I'm just showing you this. You can find the research. It's out there. You can go to a lot of websites. The Republic of South Africa, we have it here again, our CRK number. We are primarily in the business of foreign governments. That is what we're trading at. And our address, our official address, is the Embassy of the Republic of South Africa in Massachusetts Avenue in Washington, D.C. And why Washington, D.C.? We will get to that later on. These are just a few searches that you can do on your own. You can go to Edgar search results, and you can see who else is on these boards, who else is registered. It's every government in the world is actually listed on that at these in Washington, which is a fraud. And to add insult to injury, here this one was when the Queen was still alive. We are also registered with the King, the Commonwealth. We have another number there as well. And that is the reason you will wonder why things are so expensive, because we South Africans, our tax money goes to these countries. I urge all of you to write letters to the municipality and ask them to please give you a complete breakdown of the spending. And all you will get is a budget for last year, and they refuse to give you the spending. If anyone gets the spending, I would love to see that, but we've so far been very unsuccessful. You can also go to manta.com, and you will see there that there are no less than 5 private companies trading as Parliament of South Africa in the US. And really, it's important you do your own research. I'm just showing you this. I'm showing you the links so you can do your own research. And now we need to see and figure out what is going on. We have the trinity of globalist control, which is split up into religion, finance, and military. The heads of these places are Vatican, London, and Washington, D.C. They are all 3 separate states, and they're completely independent of their respective countries. And all 3 have a couple of common denominators, and I'm going to flip through them very quickly. All of them have an obelisk. They have their own crest. They are all this is London here, by the way. This is Cleopatra's Needle up there. London is sitting here at the river banks, watching the currencies. You get the lingo that they're using. And there we have the London Mile, that little red dot. It's an enclave. It is got its own police force, own tax laws, own everything. They are completely separate from the rest of London. From the rest of the UK. We then have the Vatican, same thing. At the river, as an enclave, it has got its own obelisk. You can do your own research on it. It's pretty dark on that obelisk if you do research. It's pretty hectic, but don't get caught up in that too much. And it also has its own crest. And so is the same for Washington, D.C., at the river as an enclave and its own crest. And the symbolism of these poles, what do you call them again? The Cleopatra's Needle, they are very, very important. Sorry?
Obelisk.
Obelisk, of course. Thank you. Thanks. They're very significant. Nothing is a coincidence, and symbolism is what they use. And you can do a lot of research about that. Now, if we look at the crest of Washington, you will see here's that little emblem right in the middle. I'm going to flip back here, and you can see it here. And that actually depicts, those 3 little stars depict Washington, Vatican, and London. And contained, and this is the big one, contained within these 3 cities is more than 80% of the world's wealth. And, well, this is now the big question. Who owns these cities? What is going on? And it's a question that you need to do your own research from. So it's now a little bit of a breather. It's a lot to take in, because it's not what any of us have expected. And when that happens, sometimes in between, we have to go and say to ourselves, now, how on earth is this even a thing? And how do we go about it? I see a lot of people, when they hear this, either they have cognitive dissonance and say, this is nonsense, or they go, they're scared. People become very, very scared. And remember, if you are fearful, you will attract what you fear. Knowledge is power, and it will set us free. And once we go through the stages, it's almost mourning. We have to go through the stage of mourning because we were lied to. We believed the lies. We fell for it. We did all these things and played in the system. But you know, there comes a time when we say, okay, we are here. We are who we are. Let's see how we can fix this. And it starts with one big thing. You never ever understand anything. And this is again the lingo. As long as you understand, you are standing under their jurisdiction, and you may stop it. You can understand, but if they ask you, do you understand? No, you understand nothing, and you don't stand underneath them. And this is, again, know your diction. Be very careful. You walk into a court and they say, do you understand? And you say, yes. Boom, you've contracted with them. Yeah, it takes time. We will all get there. And what we can see, what I've done here now in this little image, I've offset governing our having foreign governments versus sovereign governments and the life we want. And this is law. This is not pulled by some crazy idea. So you have the governments who are an incorporated state. They franchise, they have contractors, they are ruled by the law of the sea. It's foreign international jurisdiction in our lands. They have no place there. Admiralty maritime law, administrative courts. They don't have a jury in this country. You have legal privileges and benefits that can be granted and they can be revoked. And we've all seen it in 2020. They've revoked our benefit of freedom, and it was wrong. And we are dead artificial persons, as opposed to a sovereign government where we are a non-incorporated nation. We are not franchised. We have public servants and not contractors. And we are ruled by the law of the land, which is sovereign and national. We have common law. We have a court of record. So you no longer register, you record your birth, you record your cars, you do all these things by recording things. And it is lawful. We have our rights, we have our properties, excuse me, and we are living men and women. And this is what we want. And again, the flap of the butterfly, we know. And it's lots of us flapping our wings, we can get there. And what we have to learn is to realize that we are separate from that straw man that they created at birth. And what we have to learn to realize is that if we are on a seesaw, the most important point is the middle. And we need to learn that they who are holding that finger up are not the ones who are choosing over our life. So we need to wake up, stop goofing around, stop seeing the straw man as larger than life. And this is where we want to be. You move to the middle of your seesaw. You control the seesaw. And you realize that at the moment, while we're still living in this matrix, the straw man is still a very real thing. The banks are using him. You can't open an account. You can't do anything without your straw man. And you don't have to throw him away. You don't throw your passports away. You don't change anything. You start being in control of your straw man. And it's a process. We have to learn. It takes time. So be gentle on yourself. Now, if you are free, you are now free. You realize my straw man is this little oak. Government is fraudulent. They can't really tell you anything. So it's a free for all, is it? No. The law of the land, common law, has a very strong code of honor and dishonor. You always have to act in honor. And you need to have integrity. And it's a very simple question you always ask yourself. Do I want somebody else to do this to me? And if you don't want that, then you don't do that. So that's the law. The other law is, of course, first do no harm. We don't do harm. And And that is our main law. And that really sums up any other law that you can think of. We now come to something, how do we extricate ourselves? How did they catch us? And one of the most binding pieces of paper you have ever signed, there are many, but one of the most binding one where you handed over your power of attorney of your life is when you registered as a voter. So they make you stand in rows and rows and rows, and you're going to vote and vote DA to keep the Cape, or to save the Cape is what I see right now. But we remember that Cyril and the DA are all sitting around one table. So who are we voting for? Is this maybe a charade? And unfortunately it is. And if you look at a ballot paper, you have got the name. Please note, all the parties are in all caps. You have the logo. You have a shortened version of the name, the Abkürzung, and you then have a photo of whoever represents that party. And if you make your little black cross there, and remember, who pulls a little black cross? It's someone who is illiterate, someone who's not with all his faculties, someone who cannot be accountable for his own actions. Those are the people who put little crosses. Also, the pen has to be black, which often denotes death, because you are a corporation voting for another corporation, and it is your straw man voting for this corporation. The moment you put your cross there, you have handed over all your rights to whoever's name is next to that ballot. So your power, you have handed them power of attorney. And it's a big one. You can't, power of attorney you hand over if you are if you are incapacitated. And this is where a lot of people get very upset because they feel they need to vote to keep the party that they believe is the right one in power. But unfortunately, you can never emancipate if you are registered as a voter. You can go through the entire emancipation process. There are many steps. We help everyone with it. And if for some or other reason one day you decide, you know what, this is not for me, how do you get back onto the ship? You just register as a voter and you're back on the ship. They'll gladly take you. So this is how powerful voter registration is and what you've all handed over. So it's a massive chasm you have to jump over. We all go through the same thoughts where we get scared and we think, oh my gosh, but what if? I can promise you the outcomes of all the elections worldwide have been predetermined. You standing in a queue, putting your little cross there is nothing other than theater, really. But take your time always to think about it. It's a big, big, big jump. We come to the next thing of our everyday lives where they want you to register absolutely everything. When you register something, it means you're handing it over to the crown. Regis is crown. Also, licensing. It gives you the right to use something, but you are not owning it. So you don't own your car, your gun, your boat, your pets, your children, your homes. You've registered it, you've handed it over. Thank you very much. All in the little fine print. So as you can see here, there's been quite a bit to chew on already, but knowledge will empower you. And this is a difficult one. And this is where a lot of people flounder because it needs time. You need to read up, you need to do your own research. Because as a sovereign living man or woman, you are now responsible and accountable for your actions and what you do with your life. And you need to know your facts and you need to study for that. And that's why we always say to everybody, get together, form study groups, help each other, and go out and spread this news and get people educated about this. And always, 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 always know there is always one right and one wrong. Being emancipated does not give you the right to become abusive or do the wrong things, because they will end you up in court. And here we come to the court. The court that you know, we have the word plays. We got a tennis court and the court, and there is very little difference between the two. It's a racket. And when you go to court, it's a bit big ping pong. You never know. You might have the strongest case and you will think, yeah, well, I'm going to win this. And every lawyer will say to you, it can go either way. It all depends on the day in court. Because your lawyer might just hit the ball into the net and you will lose, although you were right. So it is all a massive act. They come in their robes, they come with their wigs. That's all huge symbolism. I will not go into that right now, but it is quite a scam. And they form acts, they create acts. You have an act of war. You've got affordable health care acts, which we all know is the biggest oxymoron if there ever was one. And for that reason, it is here time. Learn the long-term benefits. Go up against the governmental overreach. Stop being this man, this puppet on a string, running time is money. You've got to do this, you've got to do that, and you are using your life's energy. They even call it loosh, to finance the lives of people or entities that should not have it. And you need to make a choice. And remember, there are so many of us. We are here to help each other. We need to stop fighting each other. We need to stand together as people, and it doesn't matter who we are. They have tried to divide us by color, race, nationalities, languages. That's why they call us human. Hue is a color, the color of man, hue, man. And what do? You divide and rule. And we need to put that aside. We have bigger fish to fry. And always know, at the Jural Assembly, the Jural Committee, we are always here for you. We're here to help. It's a very scary time for lots of people when they realize that it's all a lie and they think, now, how am I going to get out of this? Some people are in real trouble. How are we going to get out of this? And there is a way. It's a beautiful way. I've never looked back. In fact, I'm so grateful that this knowledge is out there that I will always share it. I will be a Toto until I close my eyes forever, and will tell people about this and will help wherever I can. But I'm only here to bring you the message, to show you what's out there, point you in the right direction, show you where you can learn and research. The choice at the end of the day will be yours. Do you choose freedom or global fascism? And always remember, be mindful. Global fascism will always be sold to you as if it is good for you. It's for your own good. It's to keep you healthy. It's to keep you safe. But all is okay, they will say. Be very mindful of that, because the rights that they give you can be revoked at any given time. And I really hope that this cage that you were all thinking so far was actually a great cage, because you can fly in and out, right? The door's open, and they will never close the door. They have closed the door in 2020. There's big talk they want to close it again. I don't know when, and I don't think they will get it right. But the cage should be too small for you now. And what I always say is, we do not start a revolution. We do not fight. We do this peacefully. And instead of fighting and breaking down an old broken system, you will lose all your energy. You will burn yourself out. Don't do that. What we do is we use these chains that they've put us into, and we turn them into birds of freedom. And I know it sounds cheesy, but we use the tools, we use what we have, and we build the life and the freedom that we believe we deserve, that are our unalienable rights that we were born with, and we create our future together in harmony, without constant fighting, we can do this. I really do believe that. So that brings me to the end of my little presentation. Thank you very much for listening patiently.
Thank you everybody for being here.